Northwestern fencing strength and conditioning trainer.
Hello.
Taylor Hines. Taylor, with so many different approaches and styles to strength and conditioning out there, how does fencing fit into the mix?
Well, the wonderful thing about our field is there's a saying, don't reinvent the wheel. And with that, the basics work. The basics work. Everyone needs to be a stronger athlete. Everyone needs to be a faster athlete. Everyone needs to be more coordinated. These are like the three basic elements that I used to kind of put together my fencing program for the year. And another, in line with that, because we're looking at speed, agility, coordination, strength, like power, things like those five big elements, because those are the things we're trying to assess and develop in these athletes. There's so many different ways to do it. So fencing actually has a place in the strength and conditioning world. People like to think that, this is strange sport that not very many, it's not football, it's not basketball, it's not soccer, it's not conventional. So why do they need to lift? Why do they need to be stronger? Why do they need to condition?
Or something specific.
Exactly. There are so many reasons why, specifically because fencing actually, from what I've seen and what I've learned from speaking with the coaches and getting to know the athletes, is they are great athletes, but they're also very specialized, which means they have this pool of athletic ability that they haven't developed yet. And that, to me, I see my work is best spent there. Their coaches are going to make them better fencers. I'm going to make them better athletes for their coaches. So.
And so what are, first of all, it's really exciting. But second of all, what are some things that maybe kids right now or people in clubs that don't have access to the same resources Northwestern offers, what are things that they can do to enhance their fencing game?
Absolutely. That's
physically,
a great question.
athletically.
That's a great question. Well, I think first and foremost, if you want to approach it from a physical standpoint, things that you can handle, things that you can do on your own, everyone needs to be balanced, right? Fencers need to be able to balance a single leg, double leg, you be able to stick a landing, things like that. So any sort of jump work that you can do, plyometric training, be able to jump and handle your body weight explosively is huge for fencers. Not to mention on single leg, which gets even more complicated. In line with that, because fencing does do a lot of lunging, and they also work in multiple planes of direction all at the same time. They're here, but they're also here, and they're also back here. Because it's such a complicated movement in all the different directions, you also have to really have great core strength. Your joints have to be very well set naturally, so that means keeping your hips set, being able to do planks, keeping your shoulders set, those are all aggressive injuries that fencers develop as they get older. A lot of rotator cuff tears or hip labral tears, lower back pain, things like that. So developing a strong core, being able to have very solid shoulder strength, good posture, and hip stability. Those are probably the biggest things that younger fencers can do. And how you do that, be able to plank, be able to squat well, be able to jump on a single leg, land on a single leg, and then be able to do a good push-up. Those are four big movements that my fencers worked on day one with me. And from then, we've been able to build our program, our strength program, based off that.
And of course, you mentioned the squat thing, doing squats, that being maybe the only one that could use weight, but all of these could also be body weight exercises.
Absolutely. Body awareness in general is something any athlete can benefit from, but especially fencers, because there's a moment in the middle of your bout where you have to be able to make a decision, feel a movement, feel a move, and if you don't have the body awareness and the general awareness to sense that out, you can't move into that space and grab that point, grab that touch that you're trying to get. And so with that, body awareness is another one of those things to me, that's step one. When you understand body awareness and how to be able to tie upper body, lower body, core, movement, all of that balance in together, that's when we can advance. And so something simple for body awareness, a plank. It's a full body movement. You can do it on your own. You can do it for 15 seconds. You can do it for a minute. You can do it for 6 minutes. There's so many different ways to progress it, but it's one of the sole movements that actually includes everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
And to that point, with this being an NCAA Division I program, how much of that development, physical, athletic development, do you see incoming freshmen have? Because I guess the context, of course, is in the United States, most fencing is developed in a club system.
Absolutely.
Where the focus is very specific on fencing-only activities.
There are a lot of holes. We see a lot of athletes with holes, and depending on what club they came from, some club teams do a really good job of, at least with balance, coordination, like plyometric work, things like that. But the holes I've seen, at least with my first year working with these girls, or these young women, it's a lot of like a lot of injuries. They come in with a lot of like hip imbalances, knee imbalances, a lot of like lower back pain, shoulder pain. I've had like 6 athletes that have had like actual like surgeries from that. So I would say, I mean, I'm sorry, what was the beginning of the question?
Yeah, well, I guess where I'm going with it, you're absolutely nailing it as far as the disconnect between incoming freshmen and where they need to be.
Yes.
But to that point, like when people are coming in raw or green or whatever, how do you get a focus to quality and like form and technique and not just quantity? So many
Absolutely.
freshmen want to crank out 50 push-ups, but they can't do one good one.
Exactly. I mean, you run into that problem with pretty much any new athlete that you have. And so, I mean, for me at least, like day one, I mean, I keep my sets and my reps like fairly low, and I put all of but that exercise is treated as its own set. Like we're going to make sure that, or like I use priming exercises, for example, like hollow body holds or like planks or something. Once I know that we can have that, like we can keep that tight rigidity across body, then we'll start adding movement to it, right? Then we'll add a push-up, then we'll add a plank, then we'll add a hip touch, then we'll have you squat, like things like that. And so, again, and this kind of goes back to a previous question we talked about, just general body awareness, like kinesthetic intelligence, things like that. And that is something that every athlete can have, but unless you address it very specifically with like good coaches at a young age, it's something that athletes just kind of forget about because they get so into this zone of like just reacting to what they're told and following directions. There's no I guess individual intelligence develops. Like
right.
People.
There's never any critical thinking about
Yes.
what actually needs to be addressed.
Yes, yeah. Athletes kind of lose, especially in a sport like fencing where it's so highly individualized and everyone has like a very specific coach, and it's not like soccer where everyone kind of has to be their own man and like be their own coach at times. You do kind of see this, like a lot of athletes kind of losing their way because they don't have someone with them at all times. So that's another thing that I try to develop with at least my women, being smarter on your own, being critical thinkers and trying to answer their own questions.
So 3 takeaways, a lot of great content there. Three big takeaways are the basics, like focus on the basics.
Absolutely.
and build up. So
Yes.
like incremental improvements where you're first addressing, like you said, hollow body and planks and stuff, and then adding to that, expanding out. And the other thing, of course, quality always.
Absolutely.
Technique is going to kill.
Make it easily digestible. Yeah.
And then the third thing is what? I lost it. So.
Oh, you're fine. I'd say no. I mean, and thank you for summarizing that. I think you did a really great job with that. Props to you. I think 3 biggest takeaways, at least with what I have learned myself from working with women's fencing, is the basics work. Keep it simple. Stay positive, because again, you are a teacher. I see myself as a teacher and a coach. I can't. I personally have to be patient, and I have to try to instill patience within them as well. So the basics work, be a teacher and a coach, and then more than anything, keep everything scalable and progressible. All right, don't ever do anything, like that goes back to quality, but don't ever do anything just because.
Right.
Everything has to have a reason. There's got to be a reason. I have to be able to justify what I do with these girls, and they're very intelligent women, and so they will ask me, Taylor, why are we doing this? Like everything hurts. There's a reason for that, and if I can't tell you that there's a reason for it, then we shouldn't do it. Yeah, I have to be a teacher, I have to be a coach, and then I also am trying to make them more in tune with what I'm doing. Hopefully, just better buy-in all across the board.
Awesome. Well, there it is. The conversation begins.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.